All right, so we're going to continue on with the second half of Unit 6, which is going to start with learning target 14 through 18, which is going to deal with the circulatory, lymphatic, and respiratory systems in mammals. So the function of the circulatory system is to move oxygen, nutrients throughout the body and to move waste throughout the body for removal by using a system of blood vessels. Most circulatory systems are composed of the heart, blood vessels, and the blood. So again, we've talked about what blood is composed of back in the first half of Unit 6, but in review, blood is composed of plasma, red blood cells also called erythrocytes, leukocytes, which are your white blood cells, and platelets. Plasma is a liquid portion of the blood which carries nutrients and other parts of the blood. Erythrocytes or red blood cells are going to carry oxygen to the body and remove carbon dioxide from the body to the lungs for it to be removed from the body. Hemoglobin is a protein that carries oxygen in red blood cells. Leukocytes are your white blood cells, and in review, they fight pathogens in the body, and platelets interact with a protein called fibrin in order to clot the blood, and that's what you see here in this picture. So the heart, different parts of the heart. So you have the aorta, which is a large artery and is the first place blood is pumped from the left ventricle. Then the vena cava is a large vein that empties blood into the right atrium. Pulmonary arteries and veins carry blood to and from the lungs. So anytime it says pulmonary artery or pulmonary vein, that is where the blood is going to or from the lungs. Atrium is a small chamber, receives blood from the outside and pumps it into the ventricle. The ventricle are the large chambers, which receives blood from the outside and pumps it into the ventricle. Myocardium is the muscular tissue that makes up a heart. The pacemaker is what is responsible for keeping the rhythm of the heart. We have one naturally, and of course, you can get one implanted. And valves or flaps of tissues that prevent the backflow of blood in the heart and in the veins. So, pulmonary artery. So, an artery is blood when blood leaving the heart. Veins are when blood is coming back into the heart. And you can see the aorta, the superior vena cava, the inferior vena cava, which is the bottom of the heart, top of the heart, and the myocardium, is the muscle tissue around the heart that pumps it. So blood vessels. Okay, arteries are how blood is carried away from the heart. They're going to have a thicker cell wall because the pressure of the heart pumping that blood is a little bit more intense than it is when the blood is coming back to the heart. Veins are how blood is carried back to the heart. They contain valves to prevent backflow of the blood. So, of course, the further the blood gets from the heart, the less pumping pressure, so to speak, that will be acting on that blood. So veins will have valves, flaps to keep blood from flowing backwards against gravity or with gravity as gravity works on it or whatever it may be. Then capillaries are microscopic vessels where gas exchange occurs. And what we see right here, this area of red, purple to blue, red is going to be the oxygenated blood, which means it has oxygen. Here at the capillaries, gas exchange is happening. Oxygen has been diffused into wherever it needs to be. Carbon dioxide is being picked up. Then the blue line is where deoxygenated blood or blood without oxygen, but blood containing carbon dioxide is coming back to the heart and the lungs. All right, so the pathway of blood, this is known as the pulmonary circuit, and this is the loop that goes Oh, well, the pathway of blood. So let me start over. Think back to some of the animals, especially mammals and humans. We talked about the double loop system. Okay, so the first part of the double loop system is going to be the pulmonary circuit, and this is the loop that goes to the lungs and back to the heart. So it goes heart, lungs, heart. Okay, heart through the pulmonary artery to the lungs, where it's going to pick up oxygen, and then back through the pulmonary veins will go the oxygenated blood to the heart to be pumped to the body. Okay, so that is the pulmonary circuit. And the systemic circuit is the loop that goes to the body and back to the heart. So heart, then to the body for gas exchange, and then back to the heart. So here's the pathway of blood. Okay, and you may want to pause this video and go through this and write this down. So from the right atrium, you go to the right ventricle. From the right ventricle to the pulmonary artery, which is going to take you to the lungs. Pulmonary artery to the lungs, where the blood is oxygenated. This is where it picks up blood or oxygen. From the lungs, it goes through the pulmonary vein, which is going back to the heart. The pulmonary vein to the left atrium to the left ventricle, and the left ventricle to the aorta, to the body, and to the body to the vena cava, to the right atrium, where blood is deoxygenated. Once you write this down, you can go back a few slides and see the different parts of the heart and where we're talking about here. All right, capillary beds. So this is how blood gets from arteries to veins. Gas exchange happens in these areas. So these spider web looking areas here is where oxygen is going to be diffused out of the blood to be dropped off at different parts of the body, and carbon dioxide is going to be picked up as a waste product to be carried back to the lungs to be exhaled. Blood pressure. So your heart sends signals to your kidneys to control the amount of water in your body, which ultimately is going to control your blood pressure. All right, so moving into the lymphatic system, and this system returns excess fluid to the circulatory system after filtering it for pathogens. So lymph is an important vocab term here. Lymph is the fluid collected by the lymphatic system. So blood loses plasma in the capillary beds, and a different system of vessels collects this fluid and returns it to the heart. Lymph is filtered in lymph nodes for pathogens. And then moving into the respiratory system. So the respiratory system facilitates gas exchange between the blood, air, and the body's tissues. So the composition of the respiratory system. This system is composed of lungs, bronchi, trachea, larynx, and pharynx. So the pharynx is the area where the nose and the throat meet, and there is a flap called the epiglottis, which separates your trachea from your esophagus. Larynx is also known as the voice box. The vocal cords are stretched over a larynx, and the vibration of that voice box, so to speak, is what produces sound. Trachea and bronchi. So your trachea is also known as the windpipe. It's what goes down the throat. And then your bronchi are cartilage-wrapped tubes that connect the windpipe to the lungs. So breathing. Breathing occurs when the diaphragm lowers, producing negative pressure, causing you to breathe in. Okay. In the same way, it relaxes to cause you to exhale. In this way, breathing is an involuntary action. Now, think back to what involuntary means as far as muscle movement or muscle use. The brainstem controls the involuntary portion of breathing, but you can control your breathing as well. The brainstem reads the amount of carbon dioxide in the blood, which is going to dictate how fast or slow you're breathing. So your brainstem is going to check your levels, so to speak, in your blood. So when you take a deep breath in, you feel like your chest is getting larger. Okay, that is your diaphragm expanding downward. Okay, the muscles around your diaphragm kind of expanding out, and you're flexing them, and it's allowing the um, I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. It's allowing the lungs to include or take in more air, and then when you breathe out, you feel yourself kind of relaxing, and all the muscles around your diaphragm are relaxing. You can control it, but it's also going to happen automatically. Gas exchange. So the gas exchange is going to be between carbon dioxide and oxygen gases. Alveoli are tiny sacs inside the lungs that are wrapped with capillaries. When the alveoli fill with air, the carbon dioxide in the blood diffuses into the alveoli, and the oxygen in the air diffuses into the lungs. So in the body, the oxygen in blood diffuses into the body tissues via the capillary beds, and conversely, the carbon dioxide in the tissues diffuses into the capillary beds and returns to the lungs via the circulatory system to be exhaled when you breathe out. And that is the end of this learning targets. It's a rather long one. Be sure you complete the video. If you have questions, let me know. Feel free to go back and watch this video as many times as needed. Thank you.